What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Islam Makhachev recently opened up about what surprised him most during his dominant win over JDM. The fight took place at UFC 322 in November, where Islam completely controlled the matchup from start to finish. Many fans remember just how one-sided it was, with Islam holding JDM down for the majority of the bout. Out of the full 25 minutes, Islam secured an incredible 19 minutes and 10 seconds of control time, leaving very little room for JDM to operate. In a new interview with Match TV, Islam explained that he was genuinely surprised by how easy it was to keep JDM on the ground. He revealed that during preparation, his team carefully studied JDM's previous fights and noticed a clear pattern. Before facing Islam, JDM had fought Bilal, another fighter with strong wrestling. While JDM showed some ability to scramble and return to his feet, he relied heavily on one specific reversal every time he was taken down. Islam said that once he took JDM down and felt him attempt that same reversal, he immediately recognized it. He was already prepared to counter it, having studied it extensively in camp. After defending that move, Islam realized that JDM did not have any other reliable way to stand back up. From that moment on, Islam understood that the fight was effectively decided. According to Islam, that realization changed everything. He knew JDM would be stuck underneath him for long stretches, unable to create space or build momentum. When watching the fight back, the evidence is clear. JDM had almost no time to work on the feet and was constantly dealing with pressure, control, and positional dominance from Islam's grappling. Islam emphasized that preparation was the key factor. By understanding JDM's habits and tendencies, he was able to shut down the only escape JDM consistently relied on. As a result, the fight turned into a prolonged ground battle with no real answers coming back. If they ever meet again in the future, the expectation is that JDM will need to expand his wrestling and scrambling skills. Without adding new tools to his game, facing someone as disciplined and prepared as Islam could lead to the same outcome once again. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news. Daniel Cormier recently appeared on the Ariel Helwani show and addressed comments made by Jon Jones that quickly stirred up attention across the MMA world. In a recent interview with Red Corner MMA, Jon spoke about filming the Alf reality show with DC, calling him a duckhead and accusing him of treating staff poorly and bossing people around during production. When asked to respond, DC did not shy away from the topic. He explained that he found Jon's comments interesting, especially considering the amount of time they spent around each other during filming. According to DC, they were together almost every day, and while their history is well documented, their interactions during that period were mostly cordial. He said there were even moments where they laughed together and shared light conversations. Cormier pushed back on the idea that he was some kind of unbearable presence, pointing out that people who actually worked closely with him over long periods would likely have a very different view. He suggested that Jon's perception is personal and rooted in their long and bitter rivalry. DC admitted that maybe, in Jon's eyes, he is all those things, but that does not make them universally true. He also made it clear that while he can be professional, that does not mean he wants a friendship. DC said that if he does not have to be around Jon, he would not choose to be. In his view, there is no reason to force closeness when their past includes deep personal insults and hostility. He reminded listeners that their rivalry went far beyond competition, involving harsh words about each other's families and a level of negativity that cannot simply be erased. Cormier stressed that he no longer carries the same emotional weight he once did, but that does not mean he is obligated to forgive or forget everything. He referenced Jon's repeated controversies and said he does not feel the need to let Jon off the hook or pretend that everything he did was acceptable. For DC, doing so would feel dishonest. In closing, Cormier summed it up simply. He can work alongside Jon, be respectful, and handle business like a professional. However, he does not need to be friends with him. He described that stance as a matter of self-respect, saying he is a grown man who knows where he stands, and he is comfortable leaving it exactly there. Moving on to another news, Arman surprised fans by praising Dana White during a recent live stream. Over the past few weeks, tension had been building between Arman and Dana, as both sides publicly addressed why Arman was passed over for a title shot. Arman has been vocal about believing he deserves the opportunity, while Dana has repeatedly explained his reasoning in interviews and media appearances. During a live stream with Neon yesterday, Arman struck a different tone and spoke positively about the UFC president. He explained that what he respects most about Dana White is his willingness to help people when they are in difficult situations. According to Arman, Dana often steps in quietly to support those who are struggling, especially when money is involved. Arman shared examples he has heard within the community, mentioning cases where someone had crashed a car and received financial help, or situations where a fighter wanted to retire, and Dana sent extra money to make that transition easier. He emphasized that Dana tends to take care of fighters and people he personally likes, and that loyalty seems to matter a lot to him. Despite the ongoing debate about title shots, Arman made it clear that there is no personal hostility. When asked if he was cool with Dana, Arman answered confidently and said they were good friends. The comments added nuance to their public back and forth, showing respect alongside frustration. The moment also highlighted how complex relationships can be at the highest level of the sport right now today. Moving on to another news. Joe Pyfer has issued a clear and intense warning ahead of his upcoming fight with Israel Adesanya. A few days ago, Dana White officially announced that Adesanya will face Joe Pyfer at UFC Seattle this March, a matchup that immediately caught fans off guard. Speaking with Ariel Helwani, Pyfer made it very clear that while he respects Adesanya as a person, that respect will not carry over once the cage door closes. Joe explained that when the fight starts, everything changes. He said that Adesanya will be trying to take something from him, and he has no intention of letting that happen without a fight. According to Pyfer, he is not afraid to swing big and is fully prepared to exchange heavy shots. He described himself as someone who embraces chaos, brawls, and violent exchanges, making it clear that he is not going into the fight cautiously or holding back in any way. Pyfer stressed that this is not about friendship or playing it safe. He said he has a healthy respect for everything Adesanya has accomplished, but once they are in there together, it is strictly business. Joe made it clear that he will not be gun-shy and will be looking to take the fight to Adesanya from the opening moments. His mindset is simple: go forward, create damage, and try to take what Adesanya has built. Interestingly, Joe also admitted that he does not necessarily believe he deserves this fight more than other contenders. He said there are several fighters who may be more deserving of the opportunity, but he is grateful that he was the one who got the call. That gratitude, however, does not change his intention to make the most of the moment. Pyfer also took shots at Paulo Costa, explaining that a fight with him did not make much sense. Joe pointed out that Paulo is ranked number 13, while he is ranked number 15, and beating him would not move him far in the rankings. He added that Paulo's inactivity over the past few years made the matchup even less appealing, calling it more of a fight to maintain position rather than climb. Borrallo later poked fun at Pyfer's comments about Paulo, adding some humor to the situation on social media. Beyond that, Joe also threw his name into the mix for a potential UFC White House card, calling himself one of the most American fighters out there. He admitted he does not know who he would fight on that card, but said he is campaigning for American-themed UFC shorts and wants to be part of the moment. Still, all eyes remain on whether he can deliver against Adesanya and truly move up the rankings. Moving on to another news, UFC 324 has taken a major hit as Kayla Harrison has officially been ruled out of her highly anticipated fight with Amanda Nunes. Shortly after our previous update, the MMA community was rocked by the news, which was first reported by the Eagle Tribune, a story that surprisingly went under the radar for nearly 2 days. With Harrison out, Shaun O'Malley has now been moved into the co-main event spot, changing the entire landscape of the card. According to reports, Kayla was forced out of the fight due to herniated discs in her neck. She underwent surgery on Tuesday to address the issue, immediately putting her bout with Amanda Nunes on hold. This was especially disappointing, given that UFC 324 was set to be the first ever Paramount card, with many fans already viewing it as a massive moment for the promotion. Reactions across the MMA world were mixed. A large portion of fans were devastated as the matchup between Nunes and Harrison had been billed as one of the biggest women's fights of all time. Others quickly shifted into solution mode, offering to step in and face Nunes on short notice. Even boxing superstar Amanda Serrano publicly volunteered, saying she would welcome the challenge and that she was still in fight shape. She expressed deep respect for Nunes, calling her the GOAT of MMA, while highlighting her own experience in MMA, jiu-jitsu, and striking. Despite the sudden setback, expectations are that Harrison could be ready to return within 6 months. If that timeline holds, the earliest the fight could realistically be rebooked would be around June or July. That window has led to speculation that the bout could be saved for a major event, potentially even the UFC White House card. During a recent appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, Daniel Cormier weighed in on the situation. In his view, the UFC should avoid booking Amanda Nunes in an interim title fight if Kayla is expected back within 6 months. His reasoning was simple. If Nunes returns rusty after time away and loses, the promotion could lose the opportunity to fully capitalize on the massive Nunes versus Harrison matchup. Cormier also pointed out that Amanda Nunes does not necessarily need to hold a belt for the fight to feel significant. Visually, it can still be presented as two champions colliding. However, if the delay stretches beyond 6 months, an interim title fight could make sense, provided Nunes wins and keeps the momentum alive. For now, the UFC must carefully balance timing, legacy, and risk with one of the biggest women's fights ever still hanging in the balance. Moving on to another news. With the original co-main event now off the card, the UFC has officially reshuffled UFC 324. Shaun O'Malley versus Song Yadong has been promoted to the co-main event spot, stepping into a much bigger spotlight. Along with that change, Rose Namajunas versus Natalia Silva has been elevated and added to the main card, giving the lineup a fresh new look. Shaun O'Malley reacted to the news on social media in his usual laid-back and humorous style. In the clip, he is informed that Kayla Harrison is out of the event, and his reaction is immediate disbelief. After realizing the situation, it quickly sinks in that his fight has now been moved up the card. O'Malley appears both surprised and amused by the sudden shift, joking around as he processes the news in real time. The moment captures his confidence and comfort with the spotlight, even as the pressure increases. With his bout now serving as the co-main event, all eyes will be on O'Malley to deliver on one of the biggest stages of the night. Moving on to another news. Kayla Harrison released an emotional video message addressing fans after the announcement that she is out of her scheduled fight. She began by saying she wanted to give a brief update on her situation and be transparent about what happened. Kayla explained that she had to undergo surgery on her neck just 1 day earlier in New York City, where she was treated by a specialist, Dr. Kim. Because of the surgery, she confirmed that the fight will have to be rescheduled. Kayla expressed genuine disappointment and apologized to everyone involved. She specifically mentioned Amanda Nunes, saying she was truly looking forward to sharing the cage with her and felt sorry that the matchup had to be postponed. According to Kayla, this moment marks day 1 of her recovery, and the road back officially starts now. She then shifted to a more reflective tone, explaining that while she does not fully understand God's plans, she believes that her dream is known and that everything happens for a reason. Kayla said she remains grateful, even in difficult moments, and emphasized the importance of praising God, both during the highs and the lows of life. She shared her hope that this setback will bring her closer to her faith and that her story will ultimately be used in a positive and powerful way. Kayla closed the message by apologizing once more to the fans and reassuring everyone that she will be back soon, repeating that promise with confidence and determination. Moving on to another news. The MMA community has erupted after comments from Anthony Fluffy Hernandez about his treatment by the UFC surfaced. Appearing on the Ariel Helwani show, Hernandez revealed that the UFC nearly stopped him from representing Mexico, despite it being part of his heritage. According to him, the promotion demanded proof that he was actually Mexican, going far beyond what many fans expected. Hernandez explained that the UFC required him to provide not only his own birth certificate, but also the birth certificates of both of his grandparents. He said he was nearly prevented from walking out with the Mexican flag because he could not initially show proof of residency in Mexico. Hernandez made it clear that he does not receive any special treatment, even while riding an 8-fight win streak. He emphasized that everything he has achieved has been earned the hard way, which has been the story of his life. He went on to say that Mexico represents his blood and his roots. His father is from there, and much of his family history traces back to Mexico. While he acknowledged that he is American and has lived his life in the United States, he stressed that heritage should matter. For him, representing Mexico is about identity, culture, and pride, not paperwork or favoritism. Once the clip spread, fans immediately directed their frustration toward Dana White and the UFC. Many pointed out what they viewed as clear inconsistencies in how fighters are treated. Some fans noted that Diego Lopes, who is Brazilian, has been allowed to represent Mexico without facing the same scrutiny. Others brought up Raul Rosas Jr., who originally represented the USA before switching to represent Mexico when it was seen as better public relations. The criticism continued as fans referenced other examples across the roster. Shaun O'Malley was mentioned, with some arguing that connections and optics seem to matter more than strict rules. Brendan Allen was also brought up, as he once represented Canada despite fighting out of Louisiana, further fueling claims of double standards. For many supporters, the issue goes beyond one fighter. The situation with Hernandez highlighted what fans believe is a larger problem within the promotion, where privilege and marketability can influence decisions. Hernandez being on an 8-fight win streak only added to the outrage. As fans believe it can happen to him, it has likely happened to others who never spoke out. The controversy has reignited debate around fairness, identity, and consistency in how fighters are allowed to represent their roots on the biggest stage. Moving on to another news. Islam Makhachev has addressed the growing talk about a potential fight with Ilia, and he made his stance very clear. While Islam said he is open to the matchup itself, he completely shut down the idea of returning to lightweight to make it happen. Speaking to Match TV, Islam explained that going back down simply does not make sense for him at this stage of his career. Islam pointed out that he already held the lightweight belt and left the division without being beaten. In his view, there is no motivation to drop back down after moving on. He said fighting for another lightweight belt does not interest him, especially considering he has already proven himself there. Instead, Islam made it clear that if Ilia wants the fight, the move would have to come from Ilia going up in weight. According to Islam, Ilia has nothing to lose by moving up. If Ilia were to lose, he could simply return to his division and continue defending his belt. Islam, on the other hand, believes he would be risking far more by going back down, which is why he has no intention of doing it. He emphasized that he is definitely not returning to lightweight for anyone. Islam also added that it would not make sense for him to call out a fighter from a lower weight class who has just become champion. In his opinion, Ilia has not proven anything at lightweight yet and still has a lot of work to do if he wants to be taken seriously in that division. He made it clear that the path forward should involve Ilia testing himself against established lightweight contenders. One name that continues to come up is Arman, who has been calling Ilia out repeatedly and pushing for that fight. From Islam's perspective, those are the matchups that need to happen first before any conversation about a super fight can truly move forward. Moving on to another news. New insight has emerged regarding a potential clash between Ilia and Islam Makhachev. Merab recently revealed that he has been in contact with Ilia and was given some inside information about future plans. According to Merab, the possibility of Ilia facing Islam may be closer than many fans expect. In a recent interview, Merab shared that Ilia personally hinted at certain details surrounding the matchup. While he did not go into specifics, Merab made it clear that the fight is being discussed seriously behind the scenes. He suggested that the timeline for Ilia versus Islam could be much shorter than previously imagined, adding fuel to speculation and anticipation around the potential showdown.